over to pay the following months on the profits.
You would have to be extremely lucky to do that quick a turnaround.
But with art on sale worth an estimated $3 billion, somebody must have got lucky this week. Perhaps the real winner is Miami itself. Still emerging from the 2008 financial crash, Art Basel has placed it firmly on the international art circuit. And if the other 73,000 visitors feel overwhelmed, they can always step outside the galleries and straight onto the beach.
That report by our reporter Jane O'Brien in Miami, Florida. Jane brings us to the end of this edition of Business Daily, but if you've got views on the programme, then do share them with us. You can reach us via Twitter at BBC Business or on my own Twitter handle at Manuela BBC, or get in touch on Facebook at facebook.com/BBC Business. But for now, that's it from this edition of Business Daily. We're back again at the same time tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
BBC World Service. Every weekday at this time, we'll be bringing you World Service Essential. Short extracts from some of our most thought-provoking programs. Today, it's the Essential from our own program. A program that brings you analysis from BBC correspondents, journalists and writers from around the world.
where Lyubov Vasilyevna was taking care of herself. Nikita carried her. Carolina was 8, a bright child around the boat, Revolution, and Nikita, aged 12. He was severely disabled, unable to feed himself properly or to speak fluently. When the shells began to fall, Lyubov saw the children terrified. Her immediate thought was to run with them from the farmhouse to a neighbour with the basement. She saw the two guys whatever less than 100 meters from there, the blast blew Lyubov to the ground. Her ears ringing, her body feeling spasms of pain, she looked up and saw the bloodied children. Carolina was dead already. He died later. Flew through the air. Though the military was steel and high explosive, the thought of those young bodies being ripped asunder filled him with rage. This is where we've come to. A war big enough to kill them. Because our international system is so broad, polarized, no. The religion lies between Ukrainian and rebel lines. In Soviet times, it was the site of a kolkhoz, collective farm. But that was so off, its assets swallowed by the young men underneath. Images of soldiers on the rubble and and the board was
has been slain.
And now, a new war, created out of a malign tangle of circumstances. The West's failure to see how its rejection of power to Russia's borders and support for responsible politicians will be felt in the Kremlin. By their government, and the ruthless power politics of the EU, who has seized on the post-Iraq crisis in international diplomacy as an alibi to impose his will on others. 3 months after the death of her grandfather, it is difficult. It's very difficult, Lubov tells me. Because every day and night, I see them in front of my eyes, as though it were yesterday. And I go to bed at night and I think maybe it could have been different. My soul aches because I see them. They never say they love me. I miss my grandchildren. And in such a manner is the pain of an old woman measured. Not in the loss of hours or days, but in the lost lifetime of her grandchildren. For from our own correspondent, this is Fergal Keane.
For more from our own correspondent, go to bbcworldservice.com.
This week, body hair. Why do so many people drink alcohol? Why do we tell lies? Today, hunting jokes. On the program this week, age. This week, memory. With time, all the time. About the way you do it. Go to
about when it comes to sport. With the Africa Cup of Nations a little more than 5 weeks away, 2 of the stadiums are still being built. Only awarded hosting rights last month, has Equatorial Guinea been too ambitious? And how convinced is the Confederation of African Football that everything will be ready on time? BBC's been to Equatorial Guinea to see the situation firsthand. We'll get Pat's response after the BBC News.
BBC News with Marion Marshall. Police in Hong Kong have dismantled most of the main pro-democracy protest camp in the centre of the city, arresting the remaining demonstrators. Only a few dozen students made the last stand as police and workers tore down their tents and barricades. The activists shouted, "We'll be back." There was no violence as they were led away. The hospital was trying an experimental vaccine on 59 volunteers, so the side effects didn't appear to be serious. A suicide bomber has struck at one of Afghanistan's best-known schools during the performance of a play about fighting for democracy and against violence. Officials said at least one person was killed at the French-founded Easter Flag School in Kabul, which is also home to the French Cultural Institute. The United Nations has called for a ban on all commercial river traffic in a vast mangrove forest in Bangladesh after a huge cargo of oil was spilled there by a stricken vessel. The UN Development Programme said the spillage on a river in the Sundarbans happened near a wildlife sanctuary that's home to 2 endangered species of dolphin.
The
World Wide Web Foundation has warned that the internet is becoming less free, with users at growing risk of government surveillance and online censorship. The Foundation's annual web index suggests that more than 80% of users fears the government is sneaking and non-existent for a reason. Nominations for the global awards companies as the compare foreign involvement in each field, several nations, whilst boyhood and communication game have 5. The Martin Luther King historical drama Selma has 4 nominations. BBC World Service News.
Hello and welcome to Sport Today on BBC with me, Ed. Coming up, we've been to Equatorial Guinea to see firsthand the building work still to be done on 2 of the 4 stadiums. Nations kickoff is little over 5 weeks away. And has your team reached the knockout stages of the European Champions League after a night which will live long in the memory for Manchester City fans? Reported that the International Olympic Committee had formally granted Kosovo full membership. It means for the first time in that nation's 6-year history, Kosovo will be able to send a team to the Olympics, starting with the Rio Games in 2016. A former FIFA executive, Aram believes football's world governing body must now follow suit. Our reporter added Mr. Champagne for his opinion.
Earlier this year, they were given clearance to play non-competitive friendlies against other international sides for the first time. Now, during Champagne, knockout stages extended to FIFA membership. Kosovo gained independence from Serbia, remember, in 2008, but Serbia still strongly opposed any suggestion that Kosovo should be officially recognized by FIFA. UEFA President Michel Platini is also against the idea. And in March, there was that landmark moment where FIFA refused to allow Kosovo to play Haiti. They've since played games against Turkey and Senegal. The condition attached, though, is that there were no anthems, no national symbols, or flags. And the one barrier to all membership is the constitution, because FIFA will say a member must be recognized by its regional confederation. That's they require a new national association to be from a country recognized by the UN, which Kosovo isn't. But Mr. Champagne believes the problem can be overcome.
Now we're in a situation where a sport decision to give the right to 2 million inhabitants to play international football is submitted to a political decision at the level of the Supreme Council of the UN. All the international federations have only as a requirement the fact to be recognized by the international community. Anyway, the current situation is that you have a discrepancy in the list of requirements between Article 10 of the FIFA statutes, only calling for the international community recognition, and Article 5 of the UEFA statutes, calling for the recognition by the UN. However, I do believe that the IOC being the overarching umbrella under which the international federations function, the FIFA has to follow the leadership of the IOC on that. So, once again, I think the decision by the IOC in Monaco is a very, very important step. It's also very important because football and sport can contribute to the reconciliation among the neighbors of the Balkans, the region which has been torn apart by a lot of tragedies, but also inside Kosovo to bring together the 6 communities living in Kosovo. By the way, in the Football Federation of Kosovo, the vice president is a Serb Kosovar. Clubs, either from Turkish language or Serb communities, play together in football in Kosovo, and that's why we need to encourage using football as a platform for reconciliation in the region.
Jeremy Champagne was the only candidate running as far as against several aspects of next year's FIFA presidential election. Not likely then taking a keen interest in the fallout from the voting for the 2018 and 2022 World Cup.
That's right, because he'll declare his official candidacy early next year. Now, FIFA has been in the headlines, as you say, lately over allegations of corruption surrounding both World Cup bids, which have raised a lot of questions about the way the organization is run. FIFA's executive committee are reviewing the reports and investigating the bidding process. And Mr. Champagne told me there has to be more transparency for the organization to move forward.
I've always said consistently, we need to protect the reputation of the World Cup, and we need to protect as well the capacity of FIFA to govern football. And for this reason, we need to know it is even in the interest of the Qataris that the truth will come. And once again, I want to stress that for me, a diplomat whose first diplomatic assignment will be in the Arab country Oman, neighboring to Qatar, I think it's very good that we take the World Cup to an Arab country, especially in this moment. But we need to know, it's not about them, it's about protecting the World Cup. It's about protecting this moment where we celebrate football, we celebrate humanity. So we need to know what happened. We need to know and to make sure that the vote ultimate had full integrity and that we can rely on that vote.
And that's for his campaign for the FIFA presidency. He says governance of football needs to be made stronger because he believes that individual entities trying to gain control of the game for political, economic, and criminal reasons.
You're listening to Sport Today on the BBC World Cup. Start of the cycling team this year's Tour de France champion, he believes, will be allowed to race in 2020. That's despite 5 riders failing drug test history in Russia. They have been ranked the world for by the International Cycling Union. We should say that the Tour de France champion hasn't failed any drugs tests, and there's no suggestion that he's done anything wrong. Our sports news reporter Matt Slater joins us from the Mediterranean. You're at another team winter training camp, that of another Tour de France winner, Alberto Contador. Looking at this Astana decision from the outside, it doesn't look like a sport taking a hard line when it comes to doping.
No, it looks and sounds terrible, doesn't it? It really does. And let's not forget that Brian Cookson, the Brit that became the boss of international cycling, the president of the International Cycling Union, only came in about a year ago. He came out very much in a reform a very consistent, hard-fought election campaign against the incumbent, Pat Sway. One that really off the back of the way the UCI was beginning to have really not grasped those issues over the decades of Quaid and his predecessor, Ian Brigham, were in charge of the sport. And also, the fight they managed to get themselves into about that so Cookson came in on this wave of goodwill, really, and swept away the top 3 or 4 positions at the UCI. And this really does feel like the first big test. Cookson has talked very, very strongly about without fear or favour, that he really would grasp the nettle, but it just doesn't feel good today. I mean, I understand that there were some legal implications. I understand that he's probably had some advice from Astana with too, and we all know that UCI isn't in a strong financial position, but it just doesn't count.
We need people to speak up. You're at other teams training Alberto Contador's team. Anybody there willing to comment on what has or rather what hasn't been done to Astana at this stage?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. And the bad news from this is, as you say, Kinko Saxo, they're probably the Galacticos of They've got Alberto Contador, of course, he's had his own issues with the 2 days now, and none of the riders they made it quite clear they want to talk about the time before the trajectory last night, what it will change today. Off the record, you know, I get raised eyebrows, I get shrugs, I get, what can I do, this is great, but you know, this is not for me, I just ride my bike, I get all that sort of stuff. I'm a simple guy, I'm worried about, you know, the height of my saddle and the shirt fit properly. I'm really waiting to interview the key guy here, Oleg Tinkov, who is this very outspoken Russian billionaire who bankrolls this team, and has spoken in the past about the need to really get this doping stuff behind holding tight back. I hope he'll get right for himself in the season time. So I might have an update on that, but the sad news is that people here don't really want to talk about it.
I'm wondering briefly if that's mirrored by other riders using social media, but also what Astana themselves have had to say.
Well, the slightly better news is that there have been a number of riders present if you're online, you're on to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, what have you, and have spoken out about it. They really have sort of said they're disgusted. The cycling is becoming like wrestling, but this does feel like a test that the new regime, this new era of cycling, has failed. Stars press stations last night say that they were delighted by this. I understand perhaps they weren't worried about their future, and this would have probably ended the team. But there was no hint of contrition, there was no talk of lessons learned. I suppose shortly afterwards I got a bit more of that. The official statement was that they're proud of the license.
Matt Slater, many thanks for being joining us. I think with a number of similarities with German television allegations as treasurer of the sports world governing body, the IWF, while those allegations of systematic doping in Russia, German TV documentaries, are investigated. Mr. Valentin Balaknichev says he and the Russian Athletics Federation have been the subject of brutal persecution in these allegations, you remember, as a pack of lies. Also, Masata Diak, a marketing consultant for the IAAF, and also the son of its president, Ramin Diak, he too has stood down. Both men plan to return when investigations by the governing body's own ethics commission and the World Anti-Doping Agency have been completed. The Olympic heptathlon champion Jessica Ennis-Hill has spoken out about this in the last 24 hours, back in training after the birth of her first child, telling the BBC how frustrating this is if the allegations made about Russian athletes and their federation are true.
It's something that's troubled our sport for a long time, and it's really disappointing to read things like that. I will be interested to read a bit more into it and have a proper look, but really disappointing.
One Russian athlete was focused on 99% of Russian athletes are doping. Is that you could relate to it as a reason?
I mean, it's hard for you as an athlete to kind of comprehend that. It's an incredible amount of athletes if that is true, and it's disappointing.
Jessica, this is Sport Today on the BBC. With just over 5 weeks of the nations in Equatorial Guinea, there are real concerns of the facilities needed will not be ready in time. 2 of the stadia were used when the country co-hosted the tournament with Gabon in 2012. But in addition, 2 brand new venues are being built in the cities of Ebebean and Mongomo. Now remember, Equatorial Guinea was confirmed as the host nation in mid-November. That was after CAF the tournament away from Morocco. BBC's Joanne Smith has been to see first-hand the state of the building work.
Welcome to Mongomo. I've just walked into the stadium. In a few weeks' time we'll host the Group C match, the opening Group C match between Ghana and Senegal. So I have to say, this 10,000-seat stadium is more like a building site than actually a stadium that will host national football. But we're all dark. There's nothing to resemble what is the normal football stadium. It's plaster all over the floor, buckets of empty paint, no doors, no windows. But now arriving here in Ebebeyan, there seems to be real progress in contract. Still represent their way to return, despite one director and play the team. But they're confident their deadline will be met. We'll do whatever it takes to get to that stage.
Facebook. There is a lot of 38 days until the president of the national government projects have plenty of experience with delivering projects like this.
This thing is not new for us to work against tanks. We have how to work and all the challenges that they can find because of the time and the logistics. The good thing they hear, and they're used to that type of challenge.
Away from the stadiums, a lot of fans and the football teams are going to be coming here. In terms of the infrastructure of hotels, do you think there's enough?
Yeah, we have enough. We have enough. We have hotels. We have also some social houses that are in this building that we haven't given to anybody yet. So we furnish it in case we have not enough. But according to what the CAF said, we have more than enough.
And for most countries, when they host African Cup of Nations, they have a good few years. They know that they're going to be doing it. So how difficult is it knowing that you've under 2 months to do it all?
Very. It's extremely difficult because it's something, as you said, normally people prepare for 2 years because at the same time they decided that they want that to happen in their country. So they have a planning all set. But this one was just to say they it's the best way to do it.
The Confederation of African Football accepted our invitation. Having difficulty in contact with them. If we do get their representative, we'll be sure to put them on air as soon as we have them. Here though is what you've been telling us by social media. The question was, how do you feel by ticking of the clock and these facilities perhaps not being ready in time? Adebayo in Nigeria says Lane, Equatorial Guinea, wasn't it, in the middle of last month. Cartel in Zambia says, we don't care as long as we have goalposts and a round ball. And it's a very simple game, isn't it, after all? And Michael in Ghana says, we don't care. But Brazil was still working on some of their stadiums. Steve, you've been speaking to Cameroon about the Cup of Nations. What's he had?
Well, this African Cup of Nations, Ed, is huge for Stefan and Beer because it's the first one that he's had since being made captain of the African national team. And he's taking over, of course, from Samuel Eto'o. So there's lots of pressure on his shoulders. The last thing he really wants to be thinking about is, will the tournament be ready when I get there? He's got a lot of faith, though, in the Confederation of African Football, and Bia told me he's looking forward to visiting a nation that he believes was the right choice to host the tournament.
Well, it's good. It's a really good country because they have a lot of people. I think if the Confederation of Africa make the decision, organize the Africa Cup there, I think it's a good opportunity to discover this country. It's difficult, but no, we have a lot of confidence with the Confederation African Federation because they have a very good
The European Champions League is now complete after a final round of fixtures in which the Premier League champions completed, well, a remarkable 2-game turnaround to take their place in the last 16.
Manchester City, despite the millions and millions that have been spent.
Right in the gap, Bayern Munich have scored. And it's a massive blow for Manchester City. It is 2-2 now.
Yaya Toure shown a straight red as Manchester City's hopes of reaching the knockout stages are imploding. Lovely footwork.
Scores! Lifts the roof on the Stadio Olimpico.
De Rossi was there.
The ball to come back to Jovetic. And Jovetic scores. 2 minutes ago, they were on in the Champions League. No one can go to Rome. Level on points with Roma.
Back to Zabaleta, and Zabaleta has scored and made it 2-0, and City surely are in the last 16 now. It's 2-0 Manchester City, and they're doing the job while they've nearly done the job.
The squad deserves more credit about those things because you're always saying that we are just good, but I always repeat the same answer. I don't think that this team is just one player, and I think that today we demonstrate that.
Last 2 Champions League games there for you, from trailing at half-time to 10-man Bayern Munich beating Roma going through. Steve Crossman, you were telling us on Tuesday. disconnect between City and the Champions League.
If it doesn't, listening to those commentary clips, I'm not sure what will, Ed, but I've come up with a test, actually. We're going to do something now which we don't do very often, which is hear from the City midfielder James Milner.